Hello, my name is Jenna, and I'm the anthropology editor at Alexander Street Press. Are there any anthropologists in this room? Yes, 2. Wow, 3. Awesome. I'm going to be talking about 2 projects today that we're currently working on in the open access space. So these are kind of experiments for us in anthropology. The first one is our Anthropological Fieldwork online collection, and the second one is the Open Anthropology Library. And to give you a bit of a taster, Anthropological Fieldwork Online is a hybrid open access database, and it's sort of our foray into publishing in the archive space. So we've talked a lot today about books and journals, which is great, but we're really excited about getting more into the archival space and publishing primary sources out of archives. And the second project is the Open Anthropology Library, which is sort of a development out of the first project, a bit further off, and it's kind of a dream at this point, but we're taking the first steps to get there. So, I'm guessing probably nobody's too familiar with Alexander Street. So, a bit of a background. What we do is to compile, curate, index, and publish databases of anthropological film and text for university libraries. And so we have a platform where content is digitized and streamed, and university libraries, students, faculty can search because we semantically index everything on the platform. And so this is sort of a screenshot of what it looks like. In anthropology, we got our start by partnering with content producers like the Royal Anthropological Institute of London. We work with them in their film collections. We work with an organization called Documentary Educational Resources, which is a nonprofit in the US, a library of film. And we also work with hundreds of independent filmmakers. An example I like to give is Paradigm Documentaries, which is it's an indigenous-run Samoan publishing company that focuses on contemporary issues in Samoa, environmental issues, social issues. And so we work with this publishing company to give them direct access to university libraries in the States and around the world. So some of you are familiar, maybe a couple of you, with anthropology. And there's a big push in the field of anthropology toward open access. And there's a couple of reasons for this. On the publishing side, there was a bit of a domino effect a couple years ago when Cultural Anthropology, which is the flagship journal of the American Anthropology Association, went open access. And it's a completely donation and membership fee-based approach. But from a philosophical perspective as well, the nature of ethnographic research tends toward open access sort of by its very nature, because a lot of projects are collaborative. You have scholars working with communities around the world, and so there's a big push to make those qualitative data sets available because they preserve language, it preserves culture, talks about developments in culture, and it should be open to the communities that are being worked with. And a lot of times the funding agencies will even mandate this. And then a third part of this equation is that archives are beginning to digitize content as well, and they're making it openly available in their catalogs. And so our history, I think, as a publisher in anthropology, positions us really well to think creatively about creating open access models that are sustainable and that really work to bridge the for-fee and the for-free content in the discipline of anthropology and to bring it all together into one space. And one of the ways we're trying to sort of experiment with this is with our Anthropological Fieldwork online collection. So you may, if you're familiar with the discipline, may recognize some of these faces. So the goal of the collection is to create a hybrid open access database of anthropology's most important ethnographic research from about 1900 to 1960. And so conceptually, what we're focusing on doing is connecting all of the primary source research that eventually led these scholars to publish their major ethnographies that sort of jump-started their careers. And so what we're looking at is like the handwritten field notes from Margaret Mead, for example, or Makowski, the primary sources that they collected. I was going to talk a bit about why we need to do that, but I'm going to skip that. You can talk to me after if you're interested. I want to talk a bit more about the models because that's really why we're here. So our traditional model as a company has been based on library subscription and its royalty-bearing model. But as I mentioned, there's this big push in the discipline for open access, and we wanted to respond to that because, most importantly, I think it's the responsible approach with this type of ethnographic research to make it available. I'm an anthropologist myself, and so I want to see this type of research being made available to the communities that are collaborating on this research. And it's also a way that I think that we can help to drive usage of content to drive traffic, to drive engagement, and to make connections with students with the content. And so our goal with this collection is to find a sustainable model for making this content open access. Because in a sense, these are data sets. Qualitative ethnographic research is a data set that can be used to generate future research or to guide future research. And so we've created a model that kind of draws on our history in the royalty-bearing space, but given it an open access twist. So we have a couple of different streams to make stuff open access. The first one is we start off with our traditional model, where the archive or the copyright holder would get royalties based on subscriptions. But after a certain period of time, that would all disappear and the content would become freely available. But to take it a step further, we wanted to create a situation where there would be no embargo period. And so we've also created a sponsorship model whereby there's an option for archives to basically contribute their royalties into a pool, and that pool will be used to make content freely available immediately. And the other component to this is that we will also be contributing as a company. We'll be contributing part of our revenues as well from this collection into this pool, so it's kind of a collaborative effort to make content openly available. So Alexander Street is only one of thousands of publishers in the anthropology space. There are a ton of open access initiatives. Like we just heard about the Open Book Publishers, which has an anthropology section, I noticed. There are journals, there are databases that are digital content that's all open access. And on the flip side of that, there are books that are for fee. Cengage Publishers are one of the biggest textbook publishers in anthropology in the US. There are journals. Anthropology Today out of London is for fee. There are huge databases that are for fee. Regardless of whether it's open or closed, our goal is to bring all of these resources together into what we're calling the Open Anthropology Library. And so this is our way of sort of bridging our for fee content, our free content that we're going to be making available, as well as the myriad of thousands of other sources out there into one platform for researchers. So very quickly, what is the OAL? What we're looking for is a comprehensive, carefully curated open access index that draws all of these diversified global resources together. And we want to make all of this stuff cross-searchable. So you can be searching for articles, books, blogs, lectures, for fee content, open access content. Scholars could use the OAL, for example, to compile a list of all of the primary source archive sites where content is held. They could create lists of bibliographies. What we're really looking to do is add a bunch of functionality to this that makes it more of a community. So scholars could potentially be creating profile pages or sharing content with each other to make this an openly crowdsourced platform. We'll be sort of modifying our current platform to support this, and the platform's really at the heart of it because we support semantic indexing, cross-searchability, and engaging functionalities for users to annotate, to share citations, to create playlists for teachings. And our goal is to build, like I mentioned, sort of an organic community where scholars can find a space where they can collaborate with others, they can share research, share syllabi titles, as well as accessing all of this. So it's a matter of access and it's a matter of functionality. And so at this point, if you are an archive and you have research that you're interested in getting out there, or if you're a scholar, we're sort of putting out an open call to join us in building the world's largest open access repository of anthropological fieldwork. And there's my contact information, and I hope to talk to you after.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Really? Yes, please. Oh.
Thank you. Sorry, less of a question, more of a confusion around the use of the term hybrid.
Sure.
I just worry that we confuse authors and academics all the time with green open access, gold open access, and in journal publishing, hybrid open access means something, and I don't think it means what you mean here.
Well, so there's actually 3 levels of participation. So if you're an archive and you have content, or if you're a scholar and you have content, there's actually 3 levels. You can go with our traditional level, which is the royalty bearing, or you can be in the embargo period, where you'll gain royalties for a while, but then it'll become an open access, or you can be sponsored, where there's no embargo period. So the collection itself is sort of a hybrid of for-fee content and openly available content.
You know what you're saying. But that is the word hybrid. We've just decided to use it within open access to mean various things that may not be its original meaning. Yeah. This was really interesting. I just wanted to say, I know that earlier in anthropology, there was quite a debate around open access and not open access. And I'm just curious, I mean, do you feel that there's a real, you seem to indicate that there is a real push today for open access. And I think anthropology isn't that familiar to a lot of us. I didn't know if you could just say a few words about that.
Yeah, there is a big push in the discipline, I think, because of the nature of the type of research. So you're not collecting statistical data, you're collecting data about preserving language or preserving cultural practices, and a lot of it is very collaborative between scholar and community. So you'll have a scholar who will go live in the field, anywhere that could be. It could be Chicago, it could be Samoa, it could be Moscow, for 2 to 3 or 5 or a lifetime, like multiple years, gathering observations, gathering descriptions of what people are seeing, of interactions. So it's very interactive, which means it's very collaborative, which means that should be open. Because if you're a scholar and you're coming back and publishing something about a particular culture, you didn't learn that just by sort of a third-person perspective. You were interacting with people, and it was a very collaborative process. And so that type of integrative research, I think, is really, that's what open access is about. It's about making that research available back then to the community to be able to do whatever they want to with it.
Very interesting. Thank you very much,
Sure.
Jenna.